received the amended probation officer's report. I've reviewed that. Obviously, I did preside over the trial, so I have an understanding of the case itself. I also received the certificates and letters for sentencing and inclusion, attachment to probation report for CDCR inclusion that Mr. Wakeman filed, and then also Manuel Hernandez's statement that is going to be part of that. Is there any legal or other cause where the court may not proceed with sentencing at this time?
No legal cause.
Waive rearrangement?
So waived.
Okay. I'm going to turn to the people. Mr. Smith, any comments?
No comments from the people, but the paternal grandmother is present and would like to make a victim advocate or victim impact statement. Her name is Katie Martinez.
Okay. Ms. Martinez, are you here? You want to come on up? You can come up through that little swinging door up to the podium that's just to the left of Mr. Smith. Good morning.
Good morning.
Is it Katie?
It is.
And then Martinez with a Z?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Katie Martinez, and I am grandmother of Amilio and Mateo. I stand here today to speak truth that no plea deal and no legal document can capture. 15 years doesn't seem like enough. In the eyes of the law, a number has been assigned to this tragedy, but in my eyes and in the eyes of a father who had to visit his son in a cold grave, it is not enough. We will have a lifetime without Amilio. We'll never attend graduations, birthday parties, or even have him sitting at the kitchen table watching him eat a simple meal. The tragedy just didn't break our family, it shook the hearts of Porterville. Nations watched and prayed, and our city wept over Amilio. It was so hard to get that phone call that day, and seeing Amilio without his brother has broken my heart more than you can know. I ask for you to hear the weight that it has brought on our family, and to know that no sentence will ever keep his name out of our town, and we will strive that no other child ever has to go through this again. And you heard this speak to.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
And Ms. Lundberg, we did speak briefly before we went on the record, but there's no changes to the report other than the one typographical that we addressed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Wakeman,
Nothing further submitted.
waive rearrangement.
So waived.
Ms. Hernandez, are you ready to be sentenced? I've indicated what I've reviewed. I've also considered factors in aggravation and mitigation. As we know, we did have a jury trial. There was a partial verdict in this case. So we have a verdict, and then there was a resolution reached between the people of the state of California and Ms. Hernandez through her attorney and with her attorney earlier, and that's how we reached the point that we're at here today. Credits are 250 actual, 37 good in work for a total of 287. That's on a 15% basis calculation. In regard to count 3, Penal Code Section 273A, subsection A, probation is denied. You are sentenced to the Department of Corrections for the upper term of 6 years. That is enhanced by 6 years pursuant to Section 12022.7D of the Penal Code, and that sentence is further enhanced by 4 years pursuant to Section 12022.95 of the Penal Code. Punishment for that enhancement is stayed pursuant to Rule 4.447 of the California Rules of Court until the successful completion of the sentence I have imposed and permanently thereafter. You have not completed the prohibited persons relinquishment form, but you do not have any reportable firearms based on probation's review. You are to pay restitution pursuant to Penal Code Section 1202.4 24F in an amount to be determined to the probation department at the direction of the court for financial responsibility for the death and associated expenses and costs for Amilio, and then also for Mateo. You are to pay restitution in an amount to be determined by the probation department at the direction of the court to the restitution fund pursuant to Penal Code Section 1202.4F2 for victim compensation and government claims towards reimbursement to them. You have fees and fines, $40 pursuant to Penal Code Section 1465.8, $30 pursuant to Government Code Section 70373. There are two restitution fines. Those are each in the amount of $300. The first is pursuant to Penal Code Section 1202.4B. The second pursuant to Penal Code Section 1202.45. That second is suspended. If you are paroled or put on post-release supervision and that is revoked, then you pay the second one, otherwise you do not. In regard to count 4, Penal Code Section 273AA, probation is denied. You are sentenced to the Department of Corrections for the term of 16 months, which is 1/3 of the midterm, enhanced by 20 months pursuant to Section 12022.7D of the Penal Code. That's 1/3 of the midterm. And that's consecutive to the sentence in the prior count. So you have a total fixed term in prison of 15 years. Associated with count 4, you have a fee of $40 pursuant to Penal Code Section 1465.8 and $30 pursuant to Government Code Section 70373. Count 2, Penal Code Section 192B, probation is denied. You are sentenced to the Department of Corrections for the upper term of 4 years stayed pursuant to Section 654 of the Penal Code until the successful completion of the sentence I have imposed and permanently thereafter. Associated with count 2, you have a fee of $40 pursuant to Penal Code Section 1465.8 and $30 pursuant to Government Code Section 70373. I'm advising you pursuant to Penal Code Section 29810 that any person who's convicted of any offense listed in Sections 29800 or 29805 of the Penal Code is prohibited from owning, possessing, purchasing, receiving, or having under their custody or control body armor, any firearms, ammunition, and ammunition-feeding devices, including but not limited to magazines. Any person subject to those code sections shall relinquish all firearms to a designee within the time period set forth in subdivision D or E of Penal Code Section 29810 by surrendering the firearms to the control of a local law enforcement agency, selling them to a licensed firearms dealer, or transferring them for storage to a firearms dealer pursuant to Section 29830. I'm obligated to read that to you. Obviously, there's no firearms involved here, and there's no allegation he had any firearms, period. So now I'm sentencing you to prison. That is the sentence that I've given. That's the sentence that you agreed to for the 15-year prison sentence. I'm going to read to you your appeal rights because there was a verdict here in this case, partially from the jury, and then I just have some brief comments, and then our sentence will conclude. This document is entitled Notification of Appeal Rights, Rule 4.305 of the California Rules of Court. You have an absolute right to appeal. You perfect your appeal by filing a notice of appeal with the clerk of the Kern County Superior Court within 60 days of the date judgment was pronounced. Today is March 5th, 2026, so within 60 days of today. You have a right to counsel to represent you on appeal. If you cannot afford counsel, you should petition the Court of Appeal 5th Appellate District to appoint an attorney to represent you. A transcript of all matters in this court on appeal will be provided to your appellate counsel as required by the California Rules of Court. The names and addresses are Tara Leal, Clerk of the Superior Court, Attention Appeals Unit, 1415 Truxton Avenue, Bakersfield, California, 93301, and Court of Appeal 5th Appellate District, 2424 Cesar Chavez Boulevard, Fresno, California, 93721. And in a minute, we'll hand you a copy of what I just read from. Where are you? There you are. Amilio's not going to be forgotten by anybody. Sentencings are weird and strange, and because we have a sentencing in a horrible, tragic case like this, and then everybody leaves. And it's this abrupt thing that happens. There's a book called Forgive and Forget, and I reference that sometimes at sentencings because it's a book I read a long time ago, and I agree with it 50%. I agree with the forgive part because that allows the people that have been wrong certainly to move forward in your life. And the forget part makes some sense because that has to do with it can't be something that's carried as a burden forever that doesn't allow someone to function and continue to move on. However, Amilio's never going to be forgotten. Our justice system, our court of law doesn't change what's happened. It is only within the confines of the law. In this case, we had a jury and good jurors that were thoughtful and deliberated and were able to make a unanimous partial decision. And the attorneys afterwards had a chance to speak with most of those jurors. It was certainly not an easy thing for them, and sometimes we forget about jurors and how hard it is for them. Because this is not easy for anyone. It's not easy for you. It's not easy for Maya. Amilio's not here. It's not easy for Mateo. It's not easy for their dad, your son. It's not easy for Maya's family. It's not easy for Manuel. It's not easy for anyone. It's not easy for the public to understand how anything like this could happen. So we turn the page now on this chapter, and the question is, where does everybody go from here? And I hope that there's some peace for everyone, because that's the only way to move forward. Maya will be going to prison. Maya already has a life sentence because of the loss of Amilio. And I hope as everyone leaves here today that what isn't forgotten is, and it won't be, Amilio won't be forgotten. This can't happen again. So I'm remanding you now back to the custody of the sheriff and then the